Hi, I am here to do a reading for April 28th through May 3rd. It is a crazy day. It is a crazy wild woman hair day, and I'm just going to go ahead and start so that I can kind of utilize all of this like hyper energy that I feel today. So apologize for the appearance, but we're going to kind of jump right in. Today, I think what I'm going to do for the collective read is instead of just pulling a couple of cards, I'm going to do a full spread like I would normally do and kind of walk right through that. That'll be kind of something a little different. I've been making them a little bit shorter. But again, with the collective read, this is one of those that if you're watching it, I'm hoping that there is something in here that is relevant to your week. And as always, tarot is just for fun, a little extra perspective on a week. So if you have any questions or this resonates at all, definitely drop it in the comments below. It is kind of hectic. I don't know if you're experiencing that also, but even though I write my lists out of things I need to accomplish, there are lots of other things that are coming up. One thing that helped me a great deal today even was to just take an hour of my day and go run errands. And that way I could check off lots of things. It clears my head up a little bit. So it's weird, kind of typical Monday, but busier than, I would say, my brain is busier than normal. So I'm going to pull a couple of main energies that may be at play this week, and hopefully this will help a little bit. And then I will do the normal zodiac sign cards as well. All right. Well, taking a look at the energies, it honestly looks like there may be some people that are dealing with a potential family situation, or at least if it's not a family situation, it could be a vision in your head of how something, maybe you had wanted something to go a certain way to a certain end, like a happily ever after kind of. It can be on a really minor scale, even if it's just like a get together you had in your mind how something was going to play out, and possibly there is a shift in a dynamic somewhere that may cause a change to a situation. So this can happen on and instead of just reading a general energy, I'm actually putting this together in a story. So it may or may not be your story. I'll try to read it a couple of different ways because with tarot, there are different levels to things. So they can play out individually, the energies themselves, or as a story, but there could be multiple versions of that story. So I know that sounds complicated. I'm sorry about that. It's part of the thing that's going off in my brain. But the overarching story that I really have right now is that there's a lack of cooperation or being able to plan and build something, or there has been in the past. This card is usually representative of upright. It's a very interesting card, and I love this deck. I am using the Everyday Witch Tarot, which is really great. It's not my favorite illustration style. However, you find a deck that just clicks with your brain and, creates a story, and that's what's happened with this one. So I really like it. It does bring some of these larger symbols and meanings down into what I think of as modern day, everyday. It makes it work for me. So I'm sorry about the glare here. I don't want to turn any extra lights on that I don't need to offset. But the Three of Pentacles is generally a card of cooperation and planning. It can be a card of apprenticeship or like getting help from somebody else, advice from somebody else, but it's collaborative in nature. And typically when it comes to this card in the normal Rider-Waite deck, it is called the Cathedral card. For the nature of building something, you have 3 pentacles out of like toward the cycle of 10. And so this is more like cornerstone energy when you begin to build, but it's building something solid and lasting. Cathedrals used to be built, and it would take almost generations of people to actually complete them. So the people that started them are not the people that finished them. It was like the next generation of workers that would finish them. But the idea here is longevity, building something solid. And that does require putting more heads together, collaborating, working together. And with this card coming up in the reverse, there may have been a real disappointment with something that didn't come together into something solid. And that could be in the work realm, it could be a project, it could be around the house, it could be among coworkers, or even in a family situation. I wouldn't be surprised if it was family, only because the second card that came up is the Ten of Cups, and it is also in reverse. I will be doing some readings on what it means, different parts of the tarot, and how I personally read them, the cards. For instance, reversals, when I shuffle my deck, I do not keep all the cards upright. I do the cross shuffle, and so they do get mixed up. Reversed cards have a different meaning than the upright cards, and different readers can interpret differently. Some people don't ever read reversals, because I do, because I like it that it adds so many more meanings that could possibly come out in card combinations. I mean, there are 78 cards in the deck, so you add reversals to that, and exponentially larger number of meanings within combinations come out. But I hope to make some videos on that because I don't want to spend so much time during these readings clarifying, but I think it might be of interest, and I think it would help you get the most out of a reading if you knew a little bit about what was being read and how. So, but the Ten of Cups card upright typically is read as a family kind of energy. It's a whole like togetherness. It can represent like a happily ever after type of energy, like what our vision of what brings us joy, what brings us happiness within our larger family unit. And generationally speaking, all tens have a longevity component to them, which is more than just the individual. So in this card, you have the parents and the kids and the pets. Like, this is more than just a singular individual. Readers will often laugh at the happily ever after nature of this card, because as humans, we know that the happily ever after rarely exists. And when it does, it's not necessarily something that's sustainable. It could be a moment, where you achieve the picture perfect look, but that's not really reality in terms of like how life goes. We don't get to this magic point and then we're happy from here out. Life keeps going, but it is one of those ideals to kind of shoot for. So the tens to me are always like the ideal of the suit in a way. With this being in reverse, this is basically the opposite of the happily ever after. Something didn't go that way. It wasn't the happiest ending. It wasn't the ideal vision of a group, for a group, in terms of happiness and joy and what we wish for. So we have a lack of cooperation, a lack of being able to build something that maybe we had visualized, or that we had planned for, written down, tried to, visualize. I do want to say it is within the family unit. And the only reason I say that is it is clarified by the death card. And again, I hope to make a video where I put this card front and center, because there's a lot of misconceptions about this card. It can indeed stand for a potential death, or a death that has recently happened. It really depends on each reader and how they choose to use this card. While it can represent an ending, and it always does to some degree, in terms of like a person dying or a situation over, this isn't supposed to like scare you. Like, me as a reader, my intention is never to send out energy that is to put fear in. I don't think fear is helpful in terms of the big what ifs of tarot. It ends up kind of messing with you that way, and that's not what the goal is. So this, as a clarifier, is saying that I don't know if there were attempts to get something put together, like family harmony, a family get together, or a vision for a family, or kind of what you wanted for your life in terms of the overall look of you and the people around you, closest to you. And that maybe a part of that is coming to an end, or you are seeing where there is going to be a shift. And sometimes these two energies together kind of make me think of if that dynamic of where the patriarch and the matriarch of the family begin to age, and then the next generation comes up and takes over. For instance, if you're used to having family Christmas or family holidays at your mom and dad's house, and they're getting into a place where maybe they moved into a place that's too small to host, or somebody else needs to take the reins, it's kind of giving me this energy that there is a changing of the guard in a way, whereas something in a family setting is shifting and somebody else is taking over. And in that way, the death energy is playing out. That it's not a big surprise. We know that kind of comes. That's just human nature, and those are the cycles of life, is that we end up taking on new roles. This could also be in a job. However, that 10 of Cups is really speaking to me more in this case of a family or a friend group. So it's kind of like the changing of the guard, kind of something ran its course and either we weren't able to get back to that again, like this year we won't be able to do it that way, or something like that, where something has run its course and now we are ready, kind of right in that brink of that transition. And the death energy being transition can take a while. It's not an immediate thing. It has a lot to do with grace and understanding the change. Understanding is really what is coming to mind right now. The third energy here is the Six of Wands. The Six of Wands is a very public card. It's usually like a kind of a win. And it's a win that is seen publicly. And I like this energy. It's always a positive one to me. But you can see she is handing a rose. Again, I'm really focused this time on the generational aspect of this card, which isn't always apparent. Like, not every deck has it where there is a child, someone that is possibly middle-aged, and then someone from an older generation. They don't always display that on the cards that way, but it is coming through, and that's another reason why I'm really thinking about, in terms of like generationally speaking, there's a changing of the guard here of some kind. What this card is really pulling to mind right now is the need for there may be something that in a public way you may find yourself, or someone that you are watching may need to be kind of gracious in a moment, and generous, I want to say, publicly generous, with their time or their energy or their attention of some kind. Now, this isn't coming without its heaviness, though. I feel like the public part of it may be actually kind of burdensome. So there may be a feeling here that something needs to change because something is too much of a burden for one person to take on. And it may require, like, kind of putting on a cool, calm exterior, even though it is quite the burden to have to either do somebody else's job, pick up the slack for somebody else, or go it alone if a group dynamic didn't work. The outcome could, well, I asked what the heaviness was that I could be feeling here, and I got the Five of Wands, which is the card just prior to this. And this is visually where tarot gets to be kind of fun, because the five shows five people standing over a cauldron, and basically that's a card of like too many cooks in the kitchen. It can be kind of a drama card in terms of like nobody being on the same page, really kind of some wasted energy. Fives are always conflicts of some kind, so it's just not being on the same page. There's too much going on. Somebody may have to step up and be like the bigger person, or take charge of a situation, or show some kind of graciousness and humility, and being the bigger person does come to mind, or at least displaying grace if there is a lot of conflict. So even though things might be kind of chaotic, putting grace first and foremost and just kind of getting it done, even though that level is not really sustainable for the long run. Um, Something didn't work out, it may put you in a bind, and you still have to like be okay with it and be an adult. That's kind of the nature of the week. So I hope that makes sense. There is some positives here because I think the death energy with the 10 of cups um, in reverse like this, it's really bringing an end to a situation that wasn't really the ideal anyway. So we need to be gracious through that change. Like something that is not ever going to be the 10 of cups upright needs to give way to something else. And it may not be the best feeling thing in the whole world, but I do see the strength and the energy to correct course or allow this change to happen this week. The outcome potentially is the 10 of swords in reverse. Now, it's another 10, and I really like that. And I like that it's a 10 in the reverse because it means that the worst has already happened. There may be some lingering, like, energy here. This isn't a good card. If it has to come up in a reading at all, I like that it's in reverse because upright, the 10 of swords is probably the most painful card in the tarot deck, and no one dies in the tarot cycle. But it is that moment, since the swords are the suit of communication and our thoughts, literally it can be feeling stabbed in the back, like by other people's words or communications or the way they think about a situation. It also could be attempts of to make something okay. It's like if you reach out over and over and over, at one point you're just going to stop reaching out. It's not going to get you anywhere. And that becomes the 10. The 10 is the moment where the situation is irredeemable. Like there's nothing else to say. And from a spiritual standpoint, this is the moment that we drop to our knees and tell God we just can't do it. Like we've tried everything we can. We've overthought this. We've spoken so many words into life and it's not working. If you can see, though, she is reaching for her broom. So it is a card that can indicate betrayal. There is someone taken off there in a red cape from a situation. So it's not a good feeling energy, but when it's in reverse, the thing is, it's already done. And she really is reaching for her wand, which means that the next action is right around the corner. Like the new day is here. This situation is over. There could be some lingering feelings or thoughts about it, but basically it's over and it's time for new action. What I kind of feel with this is someone may not, it may feel very emotional in a way. I don't know if it's sad emotion though or angry, based on just the look on her face. I can't really get a read, but the thing is that we may end up having to go kind of a non-traditional route. So if something within a family situation didn't end or didn't work out the way, something about that has to change as we usher in a new day, and it may require a sense of generosity or grace and picking up the slack a little bit in a public way, outwardly, people you run into. I don't know if there's a public announcement, but you may need to dig deep. You may see this in somebody else in order to move on. And we may end up having to go a little more non-traditional route or try something different. So all in all, none of these energies are really large in terms of like carryover into, weeks and months down the road that I think this is something that we just need to switch gears a little, and it may push us a little bit to stay calm and remember that people are watching. This card can sometimes indicate that you are setting an example with your behavior, and I think you can probably pick that up from the card. That there are little eyes watching, there are people watching how we deal with things, and that sometimes can really make us remember that grace, that graciousness, and that we are in the view of somebody else. So yeah, a little bit of a disappointment probably as something changes and shifts. It may end up that, I don't know, there could even be feelings like you were kind of done wrong here. But I think on the face of it, whoever this is for, will find that they will be able to deal with this gracefully, and basically set a new, our new course. So that's kind of interesting because the two tens here are really interesting. And if this is family situations, it may be putting an end to arguments. Even I really strongly feel a changing of the guard in some way. Um, but the nice thing is, this is kind of part of that big eclipse energy as things, move out. We need new patterns and we need new things to emerge, and this is kind of part of that with the two tens here. So it may also indicate setting something into motion right now in terms of an ending or a living situation that may not actually play out all the way until Scorpio season, which is late October. So we could be like making future plans here after a time of either not getting some cooperation or something. I hope that made some sense. It's kind of interesting, but I think it does end well, and it is kind of a change that I think we can all breathe a sigh of relief in some ways when we know things need to change and then they begin to. The responsibility here for whoever this hits, though, is remembering that grace and maturity dealing with it. Okay, Aries. What's an energy that you can expect this week? And then I will pull a card on possible advice on how to handle that. I'm using the Everyday Witch Tarot for these. So, okay, Aries, you may be in a position this week where you need to rest your mind about something. This is a card of, in an easy way, I can say sleep on it. So if you are thinking, you might even find like your brain is going like haywire with a lot of things on your mind. Be sure to get, you may find yourself needing to get some really good sleep this week and resting your mind. Now, advice on how to handle that or what would help is the Knight of Pentacles. Simply put, this is planning. The Knight of Pentacles doesn't act until they know the plan. So you may need to sleep on either an investment, something that will require your time, your money, or attention. But I see more than anything with these this week is you may have a lot of thoughts, and it may be time to give yourself a little bit of a break. If your sleep isn't good, you may work on setting a better routine or trying something new, because I think that added sleep will help. And you may find yourself needing inspiration, like maybe you don't know what to do. Right before you go to sleep, it may be helpful to actually tell yourself, this is what I want to work on while we're sleeping. I know as an artist and as a writer, as a creative type, sometimes I really have a project or I have something that I can't make sense of during the daytime hours. So if I just tuck it back away for a while and take my mind off of it, there's something that just kind of like cooks in the background. It just gets going in the background. And then when I wake up or when I'm ready for it, there are ideas there that I didn't know. So if you're kind of stuck and you need an idea or you need a way to plan for something, just sleep on it. Definitely work on a new sleep habit if that is the thing, but it's definitely resting your mind on something before you take action. And it may have to do with like being able to even formulate a plan on how to move forward. So sleep should help in that sense. Okay, Taurus. An energy that you could be encountering this week and a piece of advice that may help. Okay, well, something that you may encounter this week is you may feel like you are revisiting emotions, some emotional situation or some person that you care about that you kind of have already walked away from. Now, when I say walk away from it in an emotional sense, maybe you just thought there was already closure there, something was already kind of said and done, but you might find yourself wandering back in to something that you already thought was kind of settled. The advice in the situation is the Ace of Cups, and it's in the reverse. Both of these are in the reverse, and together that is nine of cups reversed. And I can't get around that walking back into the situation might either cause you some unhappiness, or something that happens that causes unhappiness this week may cause you to walk back into a situation you thought was already done. I don't know if you'll hear news of something, somebody reaches out to you, or we can even often like read about something in the paper, or revisit something like where we're not necessarily doing it, but it kind of draws us back into an older situation that we already left. With the Ace of Cups in reverse here, I always see the Ace of Cups in advice in a couple of different ways. On the base level here, there really is no new emotional offering here. There's nothing really new and good for you by revisiting the past. So I would say that there's like no new start. No, there's nothing new that you haven't already been down. Now, if this is like, it could come across in a couple of different ways. But it could be that you, I don't know if you're blaming a situation on things that have happened in the past, and that's not really the case. It's like dried up energy. Like there's just nothing here. There's nothing new to get out of an old situation. That might be the easiest way to say that. But whenever the Ace shows up in advice, just to me as a reader, I always say to not stifle those emotions though. You, in this case, with it being reversed, you may not have emotions anymore for an old situation. I know you've heard that phrase where you just don't have any more tears to cry over something. It could very much be that situation, which means there would be really no point in revisiting something in the past. There's just, it's like having no feelings about that. But again, with that Ace being here, feel whatever is here. I don't think there is anything here. If that Ace were upright, I'd say maybe have yourself a good cry about something from the past, but it's reversed. You may be all out of tears for that. So I think these combinations, you're not doing yourself any favors by going back into the past. And I want to say don't allow yourself to be drugged back to that way, like guilt trips. I wouldn't put up with any guilt trips this week, or somebody trying to like bring up something old. You just don't have any feelings for it anymore. So I hope that helps. Okay, Gemini. It's an energy that you may be dealing with this week, and one card on how it might be helpful to handle it. Okay, well, the energy of the week, you may experience a bout of feeling less than optimistic about a situation. You might have either put a lot of work into something and are waiting for some kind of payoff or something to come of that. Like if there were parts of a project or something that you put your side in, and then the one component you were waiting for to complete something or to get to a next level doesn't come in. You may be feeling a little bit on the pessimistic side. Like maybe you've tried something over and over, or something just doesn't seem to be working in terms of working toward a stability of some kind. So be on the lookout for feelings of any kind of pessimism even. It doesn't have to be necessarily that you've done a lot. It just feels there's a futility that I feel with this card this week. Maybe you are in a position where you don't know what to do about a situation. Sometimes that can result in a lesser form of pessimism, like just not knowing what move to make. Again, I'm really feeling like it could be towards some kind of stability. The advice here is the Eight of Swords in reverse. This is a card about understanding that the limitations that you feel are just in your own head. It's the mentally trapped energy of the tarot deck. So it doesn't always help when somebody tells you it's just in your head. But what this card advises is to recognize that just look at where you feel the blockage, where you feel stuck or where you feel like you don't have any power, and recognize that it might just be things you've been telling yourself, or there may be something that you just haven't seen. It does, like, I like this card when it's in reverse, especially as advice, because it gives you an active way to understand that the what you consider a problem or a no-win isn't. It's just your own head. There's a real freedom when you realize that the solution does lie within inside of you. Certainly about the way you think about a situation. You may not feel like you have a lot of power. You may not feel like you know what to say, but you do. And so sometimes just that recognition and self-talk about just taking a second look at what you feel like is a limitation, or where you feel like you don't have power, recognizing that you do, and it causes you to possibly take a second look at it. Maybe there's a decision you don't think that you can make, or that you were unaware of that you could make. So it's just about like letting go of the idea of I can't or there isn't a way. It's changing the self-talk to say that you can, and it's opening your mind through voicing that you can. So yeah, watch the way you talk this week anyway, may be helpful. Maybe there's just a little more information needed, or something like that. Let me think. Yeah. Okay, Cancer. An energy that you might be facing this week. Cancer. And advice. Okay, well, a situation that you might be facing this week may involve some kind of either travel or communication. The Eight of Wands is a card all about communication, usually kind of fast communication, like texting or emails, something possibly going back and forth. With the card, the way this looks here, I'm really noticing where the two wands are crossed right here. So I'm wondering if you don't get crossed signals with someone else, or if there's some kind of communication that you're trying to get straightened out. It makes me feel like maybe people were on the wrong page. You may be trying to sort something out with somebody if there was a misunderstanding, which wouldn't surprise me because Mercury has stationed direct, but we have been in a period of Mercury retrograde, which tends to kind of mess with communications, and misunderstandings and miscommunication are frequent during that time frame. So even though Mercury is stationed direct, we're still in the shadow period, so there still could be some lingering things to sort out. Somebody may have taken something you said wrong. Maybe you misunderstood what somebody else said. It could be the same if this is travel, because if it's not communication, it can often speak of travel plans, which again falls under the Mercury spectrum. So it could be that you have travel arrangements you need to rearrange. Something isn't going to work out. You may have to switch where you're going to do something or when you're going to leave, that kind of thing. So it's really just communicating about getting travel plans or misunderstandings or something straightened out, kind of getting on the same page. The advice here, this came up in another sign already, but the Eight of Cups in reverse is going back to an emotional situation that you thought you already had sorted out. So that kind of goes really well with that misunderstanding card that I was talking about. You may have to wander back into something of an emotional nature that maybe your emotions were high, or you had emotional situation with somebody and the communication was off because everyone's emotions were running a little high. But the advice is to not be afraid to wander back into that situation. Maybe there is closure needed of some kind. You thought you might have already had closure on a situation. But if the situation requires it, in your case, it would help to go ahead back to a situation like that. Maybe just to revisit why something went wrong even. But I do like that these two are eights, and I like repetitive numbers in tarot. It can point to something about August if you have travel plans or you're making plans with someone. But it is kind of like you may have to, like, even emotions could have changed in a situation. Maybe there was something that you see that makes you rethink a situation you already thought you had a grip on. So going back to it to see it clearly or to revisit may not be so bad in this case, but eights typically are very close to the end of a cycle. So this wouldn't be something that will keep going and going. It could provide final closure potentially. So I hope that helps. Okay, Leo. Leo energy, a card for something you might encounter this week. I feel like the energies this week are kind of potent. I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't really have a read one way or another on that, but important also. So these could be like pivotal things that kind of happen for some of us this week, but Leo, that's an energy. Okay, Leo, you may find yourself in your head about something. If you've had a fight or an argument or you thought you were trying to leave something behind, you may have something kind of rolling around in your head that you can't kind of let go of. The card that I pulled for you for this week is the High Priestess card. Now, this is a Pisces energy, so I don't know if you are dealing with a Pisces or if this is just the need to, on a broader level, this card has to do with your own intuition or some kind of knowledge that is hidden. It's not outside of you, it's inside. So this is being able to listen to yourself. You may need to act on your own intuition this week. And I don't know if this has you worried or if you're trying to figure out how to solve a problem or how to deal with an argument. You may have something that is causing you to have to go inside and listen to your own self here. Like the answer might not be externally obvious to you. So this is about meditation. This is about listening to what's right for you. And really like just cueing into your own self and your own intuitive knowledge about what might be going on. And sometimes that can be a little bit scary, but the advice here is to the advice is the World card, and it's in reverse. And the World card is the very last card of the major arcana of the tarot. And basically, in an easy way, it's the last card of the tarot. So it is where a cycle of some kind totally ends and we move into a new cycle. Like at the end of the year, how the year turns over, nothing really ends except the marking of that year. So with it being a reverse, something isn't over, or if it's in the advice column here, it's saying that it's not over yet. Like, I honestly think maybe you need to think through something before ending something or before wrapping up a cycle. It may even be like maybe you really need to tune into yourself before you call an end to something. You're not quite ready to say it's done yet, or at least not verbally. You need to take some time and maybe listen to yourself a little bit. This could come into play if you've had something where you feel like it's the last straw and you just are ready to be done with something. There's a moment here this week that the cards are saying that you may end up needing to tune into yourself before you just announce an ending, or if you're getting ready to quit, it would take a really plan out and listen to yourself what's going to be right for you before you submit a resignation or before you call an end to something. So you may have to do a little bit of internal work before communicating something outwardly, but I take it as a bit of caution to check in with yourself. before you close something out. Okay. Virgo. Virgo, and energy you might be dealing with this week. Virgo also just had, whoa, the High Priestess card come out. So, and the Four of Pentacles as advice. So that's kind of interesting. As I was shuffling, when cards kind of like fly out like that, I will go ahead and take them as long as they don't come out like in a whole big bundle. And this one didn't. It just flew out. It came out sideways. And as a reader, there's no like right or wrong way to take the cards as they come. But just my style of reading is every single shuffle is a little bit different. So had this come out sideways in a different reading, I may not take it any odd way. But this case, I want to say Virgo energy, and Leo and Virgo are very close to each other. They're next to each other in the zodiac wheel. So this may be speaking to people that are kind of on the cusp even, but this energy is coming out in general. I'm not sure you trust your own intuition about something. So because it came out sideways, I really am taking it that way. Like being on the fence on whether or not you should trust your own intuition. Sometimes we don't even know that that's our intuition talking. Like we hear that little voice and then we second guess it. And then we're just not sure. And we don't know if that's what we're hearing or not. Is it fear talking? Is it emotion talking? Is it rage talking? And intuition doesn't have any emotions attached. It's that small, quiet little knowing that we just have inside us that is not reaction. It's not reactionary. It just is. And so emotionally speaking, we can like jump to conclusions. We can let our emotions like lead the way. And that's fine. We all operate on that sometimes. But intuition isn't emotional. So with this coming out, this is almost like you may be having trouble trusting. And in that case, the Four of Pentacles here is the advice. The Four of Pentacles is a hold. It's a holding position. Now in this deck, it looks like almost kind of a prison, kind of like sitting tight. And if you notice, he's sitting on the coins, like almost like he's afraid to lose them. So it's holding on to your money. It's holding on to what you know. Fours are very stable. So it's something I would really worry about. It is a point of stability. But if you're not sure and you can't really hear yourself, then this hold position is the advice. So I hope that makes sense. So if you're uncertain about something this week, certainly big changes. If you don't feel like you can hear yourself or you don't even know what your own intuition is saying, then it's probably best just to hold for the moment. Especially if it has to do with like spending your money or is something a wise investment. Anything that takes your time or your resources or your attention. You may be tempted by something, but you may not be able to hear yourself if this is right or not. And this card set is just saying for the week anyway, or for the next few days, wait until you know better. So I don't think that's so bad. It's very similar to what Leo had with in terms of like ending something. Maybe don't end something yet. Something isn't wrapped up. You can't sign off on it yet, that kind of energy. But in this case, I don't even see the ending. I just see like a hold position. You might give yourself a little breathing room though. So if you like, it may be beneficial to take a walk, to take the pressure off of yourself to have to decide on something. If you really can't hear yourself, then, get out and get some fresh air, crack a window, like hold your position, but get the air around you moving, like get some fresh air and not feel like stuck or in prison because of it. Okay, Libra, an energy you might be dealing with for the week. And one card just flew out. And so the advice. Okay. Well, this is really interesting because Libra energy. It got the Magician in reverse. The Magician in reverse energy talks about not having what you need to get something done. So it can be kind of little. It's like if you really want to go bake a cake and you start to pull out what ingredients you need and you realize that you don't have flour. It would be like not being able to make the cake because you don't have all the ingredients. When this card is in the upright, the Magician here, he's looking at all four suits on the table. He has the sword and the wand and the pentacle and the cup. He has everything he needs to do the thing that he wants to do. It's a card of creation. It's the card of, it's a very active card of being able to put an idea into motion. Like you are capable of doing it. And in this case, this week, you may find that you are not capable of doing something that you're wanting to do. You may run into not having the right material, not having enough instruction, it may be lacking something. And if that's the case, the advice here is the Four of Swords, which we've already seen in this reading. This is sleeping on it. This is giving your mind a mental break about it. It's resting your mind. This is the mental rest card. And it is also another 4, which is pretty stable. So I don't see a whole lot of like panic or anything here. I think you should get your mind off of something. So if something's not working for you, if you can't seem to get something done, if you don't feel physically able to, if one of those components is not working for you and you can't like do something, I would say that, taking a break, taking a nap, getting good sleep. I did have the Queen of Pentacles come out with it, and she was in reverse. So this is like a card, this combination is saying like it could be a timing thing, or maybe it's too early to do something. So say you wanted to plant your garden, all right, and we are starting in we have the beginning of May here. But you're unable to do that right now because maybe the place you buy your plants doesn't have them yet, or because it's raining outside and you can't get to it. This is an energy of timing, meaning that the Queen of Pentacles is in reverse, so the growth isn't there right now. So in other words, take a break, take a nap, think about something else for a while, let something germinate overnight. Let your mind think about something else, and wait for better timing, because there is something here about there's not time for growth yet, and it's a time for a pause. You may be wringing your hands about something. The inability to get something going. On the off chance, I don't think this is who I'm talking to, but sometimes the Magician reversed can be someone that is doing something unscrupulously, or if they can't get something done in an honest fashion, they're kind of underhanded about it. That Magician reverse can be kind of a negative energy. I don't particularly see that. If you happen to be dealing with someone that comes across as kind of shady to you, or somebody that isn't doing something right, like bad business, I would say don't work with them. Give yourself a breather, think about it overnight, see if you really think there's growth with the situation or a person, because it just could be kind of a shady energy. But I don't feel like that's who I'm talking to right now, since I'm talking to you directly. It looks more like an inability, not a shadiness. So I hope that made sense. Okay. Scorpio, let's see what an energy that you could be dealing with this week. Okay, Scorpio. The card I pulled for your energy this week that you could be encountering, an energy that you might encounter, is the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. This is kind of interesting because aces all represent opportunities. So this ace, the Ace of Pentacles, is generally an opportunity around resources of some kind, like money or time or something that you will take your attention. So it could be like a new job or a chance to make some extra money. It could be somebody that presents it to you, or in this case, you might think that you found an opportunity. However, when it's in reverse, there is no opportunity here. Like, this isn't one to take. This it could be that it's not here yet, or you might feel like that you missed an opportunity and it's no longer here. And that could be the case. You may feel like you missed an opportunity. I don't really know if this is good or bad right now. I may end up pulling an extra card. I'm not really doing full readings here, but if you feel like you missed it, it may be stemming from like an indecision. Like, maybe you were too afraid to act on something and you're afraid it might be gone. Sometimes when the ace is in reverse, it is that it's just not here yet. Like, there may be something on the horizon. And in this case, I would say maybe closer to July, possibly. But, yeah, upright, you can see it. They're holding up a pentacle as an opportunity. Usually this is something that comes in externally to you. You might have stumbled on it, but basically you may feel like you missed out on an opportunity. You may become aware that there is an opportunity that is either something you missed or something that you just don't think is, you didn't act on. That's what I want to say. You didn't act on an opportunity. I don't know why that would be relevant this week. It may be something that you choose not to act on. But the advice here is the Two of Swords in reverse. Generally, the Two of Swords upright is a card of indecision or needing to make a decision. All of the twos are decision cards, and it's where you have two options, and at some point you need to make a choice between the two of them. In this case, she's got the blindfold on and she's trying to hit the target. So it's trying to make the best possible decision with the information you have. But when it's in reverse, it's not making a decision. So I kind of feel like in the advice position, this is kind of understanding that if you feel like you missed an opportunity, maybe you just didn't have enough information. There was some emotional component, which is funny that I feel this way because it's a swords card, and swords are the suit of our thoughts and our communications. But I feel a real emotional component to this, that you may have had an emotional reason, like not to act on that thing before. So this is almost like kind of getting right with the fact that you didn't make a decision, that you don't need to. This is kind of the energy of, I think what I would say is, be okay. If you feel like you missed an opportunity, be okay with it and know that nothing that is meant for you passes you by. So this is kind of one of those weeks that you may need to like just sit in that emotional state that what is for you won't pass you by. You didn't miss anything that was really meant for you, and you will not. So, but the advice is saying, not to decide anything. There is no decision to make. So whatever that means, there is no decision to make. I don't know. Maybe to not see something as a failure or as a loss. Okay, Sagittarius. Sagittarius, an energy you may be dealing with this week. And a piece of advice. Okay. An energy you might be dealing with this week is the Ten of Swords. And this has already come up. And as I said before, this is a really painful energy. It is not a good thing to experience. And I really hope none of you have to deal with anything super painful. But that Ten of Swords, to me, is the worst card in the deck. And it can feel like betrayal. Once again, you've got the guy taken off after, stabbing you in the back. It can feel a lot like betrayal. It can feel like, if it's not any kind of betrayal, it could be trying over and over, thinking through a problem over and over, communicating about something over and over, and just not having it get anywhere. Like, this is an ending. Tens tend to be cycles that are ending, and this is not doing something the same way over and over. Like, a situation's all the way done. So you may find out that you may not even find out from a person. Like, you may find out that somebody kind of betrayed you, or somebody like said something behind your back, or somebody did something, but you may find out in a roundabout way. And I feel like after you've put a lot of work or a lot of effort in, or a lot of attempts, you could find out that something through a different way, that somebody did something that was really unscrupulous. And this card usually speaks to something that isn't fair. Now, that's kind of relative, because how long do you linger in something being not fair? Sagittarius energy is pretty optimistic. I don't think that you'll linger in that very long. She looks very determined to reach for her broom. And the broom represents action. It's getting up. So this is the end of something that could be pretty painful. It may come to light by way of something else. Like, I don't think you're going to hear from that guy running away that he did something to you, but you may hear about it roundabout from somebody else, or you may see the telltale signs of something. You may get information that is just enough to make you, like, just knock you flat for a little bit. But it is an end. It's almost like, so, I don't know. I feel very exasperated reading this card right now. Maybe something's over before you had a chance to even defend yourself or say something. However, I am really noticing that feather right in the middle of the card coming down from the crow. So I want to say that despite something that could be really painful, you have somebody that has seen what has gone on. So this would be like somebody, that crow is looking, right? And so you have the person who's been stabbed in the back, and you have the guy that's taking off, but then you have this crow that has seen it all, and there's a telltale sign that the crow is there. So I think, one of the things to remember is that kind of there is somebody at a higher vantage point possibly has seen what went on. So not that makes it any better, because that's just a hard card to deal with. So I hope whatever it is that's that painful for you, Sagittarius, wasn't a big magnified thing. I hope it was something kind of minor, that you're just kind of done with the situation. However, I do have to kind of call it as it comes out, and that's not a really great card. So I hope you're not dealing with a massive betrayal or something that left you feeling really just flat. However, the efforts, the situation have been seen, I think, by somebody higher up, and it will be okay. You are grabbing that wand. You are a fire sign. You are grabbing the wand, which is your element. It is a fire element. And things will continue. You will stand up again after this. So I think it's okay. Just don't be surprised if you hear in a roundabout way about something that wasn't fair. The advice is the Six of Swords in reverse. This is kind of interesting advice, because you can take it a lot of different ways. In this way, I'm kind of arm wrestle the meaning out of it to be kind of what I want, because I see it as a couple of different things. Normally, this card, when it's in the upright, has to do with moving on from an argument or moving out of a conflict of some kind. It's moving past it, okay? And in this deck, it's got the full moon here illuminating everything, which means that emotionally speaking, we kind of have to move on from something for our emotions is how I see, right? But when it's in reverse, it's like replaying an argument in your head over and over. It's going back into conflict somehow. It is a card about mental though. So you could be going back into an argument with someone else, but honestly, I think you may be going back into your own head. As advice, this comes across as two ways. If it's advising you that this is what you're doing, and it's telling me that this is too much. Like, there's no sense in replaying something that has ended. The 10 is an ending. Like, it's over. You can't do anything about it anymore. So there's no benefit to going back over what you should have done. It's the woulda, shoulda, coulda. That's not going to be helpful this week to see what you could have done differently. That's one meaning. The other meaning is, and this is kind of weird, and I don't know where I'm getting this, so I'm hoping that it matters to at least one person out there, but there may be a need on the heels of whatever this is, which was bad and a betrayal and something that wasn't fair. You may be asked, or there may be a need to go back and recount this situation, almost like writing a police report. So if you had something stolen, all right, that kind of counts as betrayal, right? Somebody broke into your car, they stole something out of your yard. You may have to go back and revisit that emotionally, like go back over the details of that to submit a police report or to write a report of some kind, or there may need to be like a recounting of something. That's the only way that I see going back into a situation in your head or verbally would be helpful. Most of the time, I would say this is cautioning you that going back over and over something round and around in your head, going back through an argument, isn't helpful. It's just going to be more burden for you. You're going to continue to carry the weight of that situation forward with the woulda, shoulda, couldas. So I hope that made sense. That was a lot. So you can read this two ways, but I think that was interesting about the recounting it, because I don't think I've ever had that come up before in a tarot reading, that you may need to go write a report. So hopefully that hits with someone. Now, Capricorn, an energy that you may be dealing with this week. Capricorn. And a piece of advice. Okay, well, with Capricorn energy, the card that came out is the Two of Wands in reverse. Upright, this card would be about choices. What should I do? What can I do? What are my options in an active way? Because this is a fire card. Wands are fire energy, so it's our actions. And the two represents having options. He's got his wand in one hand, which is how he is accustomed to acting, but then he has the world in the other, which opens up a whole host of other options. So he's looking out across the expanse. So this is all about potential and what route to take and what method to get there. When it's in reverse, it's not having any options, or it's choosing to, I don't know if it's your choice or not your choice, but there's nothing to do in a situation. So I don't know if this has to do with, I hear like getting lucky, and I don't know, that's like a side thing, Capricorn. Something in the past where you were trying to get lucky. I don't know. That just like slipped right in my head. Anyway, Capricorns. I feel like with this card that you don't have any options, potentially because of something in the past. So if you did something in the past, you may find yourself right now not having any options to choose from here. Something might be out of your hands. Okay? That is a situation you could face. Now, the advice is one of my very favorite pieces of advice. The Seven of Cups. This is the card of daydreaming and allowing your mind to play with the ideas, to open it up. Like, this is the time when you sit and look out of the window and you imagine what could be. It's a card of intense, real creativity. It's like really letting your mind go. So if you don't have any options, then this is like the perfect anecdote to that. It also makes me think of like choosing a gift, and normally I don't see that, but in this deck, it's what it looks like. So I don't know if you're trying to like make up for something or give someone a gift. I don't know, but it could also be that it's thinking outside of the box, but it's from the standpoint where it's low stakes because it's just in the idea realm. So if you are struggling and you don't have any options, this is about what do you want to see happen? Like, where are your desires at? And this is the moment where you can imagine anything. In some of those cups are really good things. There are riches, there's a castle, there's love. In another cup, there's a snake. Like, we don't really know how something is going to work out for us. This isn't the stage to worry about. It's just the stage of daydreaming potentials. What do we want to see? What are our dreams? What's out there? So allow yourself to daydream this week and imagine what could be. Push past your normal boundaries of what reality is. If you are, it can sometimes be, even though it's a cups card, to me, the seven is a card of learning in a weird way. The Seven of Cups. The cups are emotions, right? And so usually it's a very emotion-centered card. Things that make us happy. Imagining what would make us happy. If you this card is like the embodiment of the question of, if you had $1 million, what would you buy? You know, what do you want? What would make you really happy? But also, to me, it can work as an education card, because it's pushing past what we know, especially things having to do with our culture or religion, or things where we, science, things we're always pushing beyond. In order to take frontier steps, you have to like think outside of the box. You have to imagine beyond what you know. And so I would spend some time this week doing that. I don't really know why I went off on a toot like that, but that will help. If you find yourself in a situation where you don't have any options, you may need to think, let yourself like think beyond what you normally would do. And I don't really know what the getting lucky or the gift thing is about, but I would be curious if that came up for you. Please let me know, because I would just be curious to know. Those were pretty strong thoughts that came through. Okay, Aquarius energy. Aquarius, what's an energy you might deal with this week? It's funny, we keep getting a lot of repeating cards. Okay, Aquarius. The Three of Wands in the upright this time. It's already come up in the reverse once, but this is the waiting for your ships to come in card. This is having taken action. He's got his wand there, and he's got 3 wands, and he's waiting for the 4th wand. The 4th wand provides stability. The Four of Wands card is like the stability card, the happy home card. But this is about like putting energy into something, actions that you've taken, and toward a certain end. And you put so much action in, and you expect positive results. So it's doing work and then waiting for your ships to come in. And in this case, it's almost like willing the ships to come in. So I really feel like this is like trying to control something. And I don't know if you're controlling your own emotions, because he is pointing his wand at the water, and or trying to control somebody else's emotions. So I don't know if you've put a lot of work in, trying to maneuver a situation. But the card itself talks about optimism. And An adjustment is what I heard. And I never hear that word with this card. So I don't know. Maybe you're trying to adjust something and you have some amount of optimism. Okay, this is funny. The leggings here, or the tights, or whatever those are, those stripes remind me of like a candy striper, a volunteer at the hospital. So I don't know if you've tried to like fix a situation and now you're kind of waiting for the results. I do think it has to do with emotions though. So I don't know. I don't know if you've tried to be falsely optimistic or wrangle your emotions in some way, you or somebody else. But the advice here is a recognition that something is off. And I pulled two because there's a few cards in the deck that I don't like when they come out. I just don't think they're very good energy. And the King of Cups in the reverse is one of them. That is either someone that's emotionally manipulative, or it is a feeling of not being in control of your emotions. Like when things get really out of control and you can react badly, but it's just not being in charge of that. And as advice, I was hoping that it meant recognize this in you or somebody else. So if somebody was trying to play on your optimism and play on your expectations, to recognize that they might be doing that, which I still think holds true, even though I pulled the second card. If you are out and about, if you feel like, when you're optimistic and looking forward to something, and it makes us susceptible a little bit. So just be on guard for someone who could be kind of emotionally manipulative, in that maybe they are telling you what you want to hear. They might be making promises that they don't have any intention of keeping. They may be out of control themselves. Somebody might not be reacting well. The reason I say that is because the Temperance card is here and it's in reverse. And that is basically very similar energies here. The Temperance energy is impatience and things not being in balance in someone's personality. And so together, these are not a really healthy, mentally healthy, like, set of cards. What I don't like is that they're in the advice position. So this is telling you to be on the lookout for imbalance in the emotional realm. A particular person. If it's you, you may need to somehow, I don't know, revisit your expectations about a situation. Sometimes when we have really high expectations of something and we get really disappointed, it could be watch your drinking. Together, these can easily be a combination of someone who is drinking and then not in their balanced emotions. So it would be easier to start an argument. It would be easier to let your emotions get carried away if you had substances like that, you or somebody that you're dealing with. So this is just kind of a bad combination. And as advice, I really kind of want to say you might want to keep an eye out on that. Now, the King of Cups could be a water sign, masculine, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio. Doesn't really have to be. Temperance is usually the Sagittarius energy to me. So you may know of a Sag that is off kilter a little bit this week. This is just, I would say the overall thing is be careful about emotional manipulation. Like, if you're doing it, I wouldn't. And if you feel like someone's doing it to you, just be aware of that so that you can, react accordingly and set your expectations the right way. Tough one. That was a tough one. Pisces. An energy that Pisces could be dealing with for the week. Okay, 2 came out. And the advice. All right. Okay, as a Pisces, this makes a lot of sense. But the advice for the Pisces collective is the 7 of Pentacles in reverse and the 6 of Wands in reverse. Every now and then I get a combination that comes together so easily that I understand exactly what it means, and that it just comes to mind. It could mean a lot of things, but for instance, here, this is clearly saying that if you're waiting on a project or something to grow, you could scrap it if you're not getting the right attention, or if it's not giving you back the kind of energy you're putting into it. So it is really like cutting your losses in a way. It's almost screaming that things that you have invested in and tried to baby, you don't have the time or attention for them, but something's got to go. So you may end up having to kind of cut your losses in certain ways. It's also really screaming at me that there's a severe need for attention that you might not be getting, which is funny because I really feel some of that. And I try not to make the readings about me. I mean, I can't help it sometimes because it is what it is, and I am a Pisces, but this is kind of funny that it's coming out that way. So you may have a project or something that you feel like you've invested in, but it's really not giving you back what you need. So it's got to go. And then the advice is the King of Pentacles in reverse. Now this, again, just like with most cards, it can be read a couple of different ways. The number one way that I would read it is be a little selfish this week. When the king is upright, he is looking out for the best of everyone, and he knows how to make everything grow and be lush and be, abundant for everyone. But sometimes you need to be like a little bit on the selfish side, and paired with this, especially this, like not getting the attention, something not panning out in a fair way for you. When I say fair, I mean like balanced energy, so equal give and take kind of thing, kind of tit for tat, like the energy you put in not coming back to you, or if something doesn't feel like it's just not getting the right attention, then you may need to be a little selfish. The other thing is you may be dealing with somebody that is being very selfish, and we've seen 2 kings now that came up in the reverse in the reading. So there's probably some pretty like bad behavior out there this week, which wouldn't surprise me. I mean, there's bad behavior all the time. But you specifically might be dealing with someone who even throws a fit or tries, like, I don't know. They may like pull out of something or end something. They may give up on something where they're not getting attention, or you may be doing that if you're dealing with a boss, or say that you've applied for a loan over and over and over and you're just not getting the response you want or the approval that you want. You may need to pull out. And the reason I say that is because the King of Pentacles can sometimes be banking and investments that are not going to go through. But I really think it's about being kind of selfish, and if you're not getting attention in a certain way, giving it to yourself, or dealing with someone who you may have to like let go of, or like stop dealing with if they're being kind of, selfish. I just hear big baby with this. So be on the lookout for dealing with people that you think are being unrealistic with what they're asking. So I hope that helped, and it kind of wore me out a little bit. I don't know. If you have any questions or you want to see a specific kind of reading, I am going to be putting out some tarot talk readings, just short little videos about tarot in general. So send me your questions. I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.